This Rev 3 Games preview is brought to you by Linda. Hey guys, Tara here, and happy Valentine's Day. As you may or may not know, I have been playing Elder Scrolls Online pretty much all week, and I'm here today to bring you my impressions of the PvP portion of the game. So just a note, you do have to be at least level 10. As soon as you hit level 10, you can go into the Alliance menu and then travel to Cyrodiil from there to participate in the Alliance War. This is the only area of the game where you can fight against other players. And when you enter Cyrodiil, you're basically assigned automatically to a home campaign. If there are multiple active campaigns, you can either choose an existing one or choose a new campaign. The only rule is that you have to stick with the faction that you originally chose, whether it's Aldemary Dominion, Daggerfall Covenant, or Ebonheart Pact. I am an orc, so I was automatically part of Daggerfall, but keep in mind when you do start the game, you might want to choose your race based on whether or not you have friends that you want to PvP with, because you will be fighting against them if they are in a different faction than you. So before you enter battle, you go through a training process. They start you off with some alliance points, which are sort of the currency of PvP, and you earn these by doing almost anything, and you use them to buy siege weapons. So these are the main forms of combat in battle, at least the large-scale combat. There's trebuchets, ballistae, catapults that fire anything from meat, like awful rotten meat, to flaming oil, and then there are sort of some close-range weapons like battering rams and flaming oil. All of them are pretty fun to use. After you buy weapons and you train and you learn how to use them a little bit, you can hop into battle, and the whole point of PvP is to win the Alliance War, right? So you can control Imperial City and then eventually challenge Molag Bal. And the main way you do that is by capturing enemy keeps. And that's going to earn you more Alliance points so you can buy more weapons and then capture more keeps. So what I say when I mean capturing keeps is you basically join up with a group, you head over to an enemy keep, you scout it out, and once you get there, you use battering rams and siege weapons to break down the front gate. Your alliance charges in, and you basically fight a combination of level 50 AI enemies and then also members of the opposing faction. If you defeat them and you occupy the two inner banners long enough, then that keep eventually changes ownership and it becomes yours. So your faction then controls that keep, and then you earn alliance points, which contribute to your overall score. And all of the score and alliance points and everything funnels into a leaderboard. So the top player in a particular campaign eventually becomes the emperor. Now, aside from the big battles, there are a few other kinds of missions that you can partake in. All around the map are some random quests from NPCs. There's also a mission board, which includes anything from capturing forts to destroying enemy resources, to killing a certain number of enemy players. A lot of these things on the mission boards are things you're already going to be doing in battle anyway, so it's just a good idea to accept them because you get extra alliance points from doing so. And another thing you can do is also steal Elder Scrolls from opposing factions' shrines. And then if you bring it back to your shrine, your whole alliance gets a bonus. That brings me to my biggest gripe in PvP, which are the Transitus shrines. These are basically fast travel points, but you can only fast travel between gates and keeps that your faction already controls. Meaning, if you hop into a campaign and say your faction only controls 2 keeps on one particular corner of the map, you basically have to walk to the other keeps, and this is a huge map. I believe it's the same size as Cyrodiil was in Oblivion. So if you wanted to walk from one end to the other, it would take probably at least 30 minutes. Having a mount does increase your speed a little bit, but you're still going to be walking a lot. So say your group is trying to take over an enemy keep and you die during battle. You can put down these things called forward camps, which basically act as local respawn points. The problem is that those can be destroyed super easily by enemy factions. They don't even have to wear them down. They can just walk up to one and press E, and that will obliterate it. And it sort of creates this snowball effect where the fewer keeps you own, the more time you eventually spend running around, assuming that the enemy has depleted your forward camp, which is something that happens almost immediately during battle. And they do have a limited time with them. So that is my biggest gripe with the game. There are some balancing issues which they warned would happen in the beta, but suffice it to say, PvP is extremely rough if you are under level 20. It's really hard to get into battle and not die almost immediately. And part of the problem with that is that you can't switch weapons mid-battle. So I started one of the battles with a bow, thinking I could get some range damage in and then switch. That's not gonna happen. And again, this is a problem that I think is a little bit worse in lower levels because it's not until you hit level 15 that you get 2 weapon hotbars. And I assume that is effective for PvP as well as PvE. So yeah, you are basically stuck with the weapon that you choose at the beginning of the battle. Another problem is that all NPCs are level 50, and while the game does scale you up so you can effectively participate in combat, if you do get targeted by a siege weapon or a level 50 mage or something, it's really hard to just run away because a lot of them will use spells on you that slow you down, and even if you try to run away, you will basically die anyway. But I think, you know, the large scale battles and stuff are really fun. That's the best part of PvP. But over half of your time is still going to be spent running around, and there just aren't that many interesting things to see in the environment. It's just a lot of empty space between one keep to another. But again, you know, the real experience is not emulated here. So once more players join, I'm sure that those empty areas between keeps are going to be a lot more populated. Although it might also make things more difficult because if you are a low level, you could easily get shanked on your way to a keep and then have to start back over again. So those are my thoughts on Elder Scrolls Online PvP. I have to say, PvP is probably the hardest part of this game to evaluate in a beta experience because it just does not emulate the real thing. But of course the game launches April 4th. They did say that they are making tweaks from now until then. And of course there are going to be some things that won't be included in the game at launch. And that includes the Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood. So if you want to join those guilds, then maybe wait a couple months until they add those in. All right, thanks for watching, and we're gonna take just a quick second before we go to thank our sponsor, Lynda. Lynda is an online learning company with more than 77,000 video tutorials that teach anything from software to business skills. You can learn anywhere, anytime, and at your own pace with new courses in things like web design, 3D animation, design, programming, and many more. Membership starts at $25 a month, but you can try lynda.com free for 7 days and support Rev3 Games in the process by signing up at lynda.com/Rev3Games.